Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. I'm going to talk to you this morning about my day as it's going to start out. Sun's coming over the yardarm. And a big exercise going on in NATO right now. That's my dog barking at deer. Let me yell at her. Suka, come here. I like the deer in my backyard. Suka, come on. Big exercise going on in NATO. Getting ready to kick off Trident Juncture 18. Gonna talk about that. First, that's good girl. Don't go out there. Leave them alone. Gonna do this morning. These are the 16-foot hog panels is what I call them. Gonna take two of them and make a tent over top of, come here, over top of the garlic bed that we put in. Still have more garlic to plant. Gonna move this straw to join another bale of straw over there by the fig bush. It's not really a tree, it's just kind of coming out everywhere. I did that last winter and it lived through the winter, so I'm gonna do it again this winter. Haven't gotten any figs off of it. Does one need two different kinds of fig trees to make figs? If you know that, put it down. If you're guessing, don't put it down. Don't add to the fog. Chicken feed's going up there to the chicken house. And it strikes me that, you know, homesteading requires some physicality. You got to be able to hoof things. These are all kind of heavy things to carry. Which I like. I feel good when I'm done doing it. And that's just to get my day started. You know, then I'm going to put a big beam underneath the tool shed. Once I get that beam under there, the fourth beam, that'll be sorted for a while. Going to go up and work on Charlie 6 probably starting tomorrow. I'll take you along for that, see what we're going to do up there. That's the trailer Sister Kate and I lived in for 2.5 years. Have a project going there. And then hopefully I'll get to work on this house, on the inside of the house. So there's that. Still got to feed the goats, you know, all that normal stuff. Take care of trash, compost toilet buckets, you know, the things. We are currently low on gasoline and propane. I have empty containers of both sitting about. I need to get them filled. It never ends, man. And those are just chores. Then you want to get something done, right? You know, take a forward step in progress. This is treading water stuff right here, really. All right, let's talk about Trident Juncture 18, the largest NATO exercise in years, coming on the relative heels of a huge, probably the largest ever Russian military exercise, where they also worked with the Chinese out in their eastern sector. Why? What's it mean? What's it all about? Since 2001, the U.S. has been at war. That's a long time. In Afghanistan and Iraq primarily. Other places also, but primarily those two. And it's a certain kind of war, right? It's a low, mostly low-intensity conflict, fighting guerrillas and terrorists and, you know, revolutionaries and that kind of thing. And our military has gotten really good at doing that. And now the sun is going to blind you, so I must turn you this way. The military, our military, has gotten good at that kind of warfare. Good book out there. I can't remember who wrote it. Maybe Naylor, but I'm not sure, called Relentless Pursuit. It's about SOCOM and the current difficulties. But that is not the kind of war one fights when one fights a tier 1 foe like Russia or China, which we're gonna fight Russia and China. Everybody knows that. The Russians and the Chinese know it. We know it. And all the poo-pooing about, oh, blah, 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 no, we're not going to do that. Read your Bible. We're going to do it. And so everybody knows that. The fight's coming. And so people are getting ready. Well, our military, as good as we are at chasing, you know, urban guerrillas and Taliban up in the hills, and we've gotten good. You know, regular army units. I remember back in, oh, man, mid-2000s, there were junior non-commissioned officers, staff sergeants, in the Army artillery who hadn't pulled a lanyard on a cannon since, you know, AIT. But they were really good at kicking down doors and searching for guns in backyards and stuff. And that was the field artillery, because we didn't need field artillery in that conflict over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. But when you're fighting somebody like the Chinese or the Russians, you need it. And that means you need men and maybe women who are well trained in this kind of thing. And we didn't have them. And so fighting a high intensity conflict, you know, it's a different kind of warfare, right? You've got air-land battle, you know, that's old doctrine, but you've got airplanes and ships and tanks, and guess what the biggest part really is? Logistics, right? And this Norwegian exercise officially kicks off on the 25th of October, and it goes for about a month, but the actual war games are probably only going to be about 10 days. It takes forever to roll stuff into Norway for this exercise, and then it takes forever to pack it all up and roll it back home again. And then when it gets home, they're not done. It's not like it goes right up on the shelf. They've got to then clean it and better and, you know, maintain it and get it all ready. It's a huge undertaking to deploy that much force that far. And so they're all going to Norway. Bunch of soldiers, all in NATO, and also Sweden and Finland, who I guess aren't members. And they're going to do a few days of, you know, driving around in the woods and fields and roads, acclimating the soldiers to Norway, not just the Norwegian countryside. See, warfare isn't anymore just in the woods. It'll be in the woods, but it's also on the roads and in the shopping centers and in the parking lots. And so bringing the militaries, you know, Britain, the US, France, Italy, all these NATO countries, bringing them to Norway and letting them try to operate out there, they're going to learn a lot, right? Then they're going to go home, they're going to talk about it, and they're going to know more about fighting in Norway. Huge logistics exercise. What's that? Amateurs argue tactics, professionals argue logistics. And so that's really what this is. And then there's going to be a computer board game, if you will, exercise between various headquarters of NATO, again, to coordinate. How do we coordinate all this stuff? How do we talk to each other? How do we pass messages? You know, how do we ensure that this is taken care of over here? Okay, the Italians are doing that. Okay, we've got Norwegians over here. We got America. It's a lot of little moving pieces there. Russia's not happy. Of course they're not. We probably weren't happy about their exercise either. Does it mean war's coming tomorrow? No. Does it mean war's coming? Probably. Probably. But look at all the... There was an exercise in Germany called Reforger that was basically the same thing. How do we get a whole lot of soldiers and materiel into Germany and get it set up and operational and out in the field quickly? That's really what that exercise was about. That was a huge exercise. Did that forever. Never fought the Soviets. Team Spirit and Full Eagle in Korea were big exercises, you know, getting ready for a northern invasion. Did those for years. Again, didn't fight the North. And so don't take this exercise and think, war is coming right now, man, oh no. But think about it as, yeah, we're training for war, but shouldn't we? I mean, whether you personally think this particular conflict is important or not, there are always things that are worth fighting for. And you can't decide today, I'm talking to you now, you can't decide today that you want to be a mighty warrior tomorrow so that you can defend, you know, hearth and home. It ain't going to happen by tomorrow. You got to start now and practice and ramp up. And so you can look at these exercises. Look at that ridgeback sitting there. Isn't that nice? You can look at these exercises and kind of say, well, what can I take for myself? Or what can I take for my mag or my team? My group. I know, I got to work on those terms. Can you logistically deploy your force? If you have a bug out location, can you load everything up, get it there, unload it, and secure it? Can you secure yourself along the way to get there? Have you practiced this? Because if you haven't practiced it, you can't do it. You've got to practice it, learn some lessons, go back and address those lessons in training or gear deficiencies. And then go back and do it again and again and again until you're doing it consistently correctly over and over. Then you know you can do it. And so, you know, for you just to get to your bug out location, number one, you have to understand you have to go, and then you have to alert your peeps, right? So there's alerting. And then you have to gather your people, right? Just like in NATO right now, they're gathering at all these different nodes, and then they're all flowing into Norway, right, for this fight. You've got to gather your people by whatever means. You have to gather your logistics, your logistic capability. You know, they're putting things on trains, on ships, on planes. They're driving to Norway. You know, I think, yeah, well, Sweden and Finland, right? Roll on, roll off ships, all that stuff. People don't even think about that. What's the condition of the trains? What's the condition of the ships? Are they well maintained? Does that ramp come down when you want it to? You know, we don't want to have the ramp stuck in an up position and 15 tanks on this ship that can't get off. When they are being uploaded and offloaded, and indeed while they are actually moving to their offload site, what is the security like? You know, how do we protect from enemy jets getting them, or submarines, or enemy ships? I mean, this is all what they're doing on this exercise. Well, what are you doing? You're not just thinking you're going to throw your bob in your little scooter car and drive to your bug out location, get out, and everything's going to be fine, right? Got to think about security the whole way there, and unloading and offloading. So there's that, the maintenance of your primary movers, that kind of thing. And then once you get there, how do you coordinate? How do you coordinate with others? You know, again, you're going to have neighbors of one kind or another, good, neutral, and bad. How do you deal with them? How do you link into that network? How do you get things done? You know, all things you can look at a big NATO exercise and think to yourself, how do I do that? And then how do you maintain your stuff once you're there? You know, that's another thing. They're going to get there and trucks are going to break down. A Dutch truck could break down in Norway. Catastrophically. The axle could fall off. What do? How do you fix it? You don't have your little Dutch facility to work on it. Did you bring one? I don't know. For a 10-day exercise? Probably not. What do? It's a great learning experience. What do you do, right? You've got all your contacts now when something goes wrong, when you need help doing something, you know who to call. If you're going to bug out, who are you going to call when you get there? So you can take lessons learned from that. I like to look at things, whatever's going on, whether that be a tree falls in the forest or a big exercise in Norway, and go, okay, that's cool, try to understand it, and then try to find principles that I can apply to me. You could do the same. What can you learn from this? How can you and yours be better? Look deep. Don't just look at the surface. Ask yourself, well, what if that happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? And try and figure that out. All right, just a short little update. I got a lot of work to do today. Y'all take care. We're enjoying our weather. I hope you are too. I'll see you out there.